You're live. We're live.
We're live.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Behind the Scenes. I'm Nancy Sheed of Sheed Communications, and I'm very excited, thrilled actually to be with Allison. Okay, this is when you're not Alice Patterson of Loving My Company. Welcome, Alice. I'm so glad to see you in, virtually as and it's been far too long. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Alice is a photographer, and she's more than just a photographer. She has a business called Loving My Company. I have actually worked with Alice, and we're going to talk more about that in a second. But Alice, can you take us back a little bit where you were just Alice Patterson photographer? What did that look like? What was your focus? And can you kind of walk us through how you got to actually being a photographer and running your business called Loving My Company?
Yes. So I studied photography out in California, and I got a degree in commercial photography. But I pretty quickly out of school got started with wedding photography. It was kind of combined my love of journalism without having to go into the news. It was like pretty journalism.
But it still has a very high stress, high anxiety, deadlines and dates, I would assume.
Yes, yes. And that after 20 some odd years of that actually never went away. You would think that it would be less stressful, but the stress part just never went away. So I did that for, like I said, almost 20 years in California. I moved out to central New York near Syracuse and started doing weddings here and realized like I just kind of had lost my passion for it. And the stress was still there. So I wanted, and here in central New York, it's a very seasonal industry. So it's, there's only a few months where it's not snowing here.
So you had really kind of peaks and valleys of high stress, really busy, and then kind of lower stress, less business.
Yes, yeah, and that equals no money in those off seasons. So I realized that I wanted to transition out of wedding photography and was working with a coach at the time and kind of started looking at all of my portfolios and photos that I was taking and honed in on the fact that my happy place was working with other women entrepreneurs doing what's now called brand photography.
So
And
could I stop you there for people who don't know what brand photography is? Kind of, you're not going out and taking pictures of logos, right? So can you explain your version of what brand photography is?
Yeah, so brand photography is, well, it's different things to different people. I always say it's what you do and who you are. Or someone else may say it's what you say and how you say it. So basically, you're trying to merge your personality with your marketing messaging.
Got it.
Does that make sense? And so for brand photography, that is all the photography that you need to accomplish those goals. So whether that's for your website, your social media marketing, your profile pictures for, LinkedIn, if you do print advertising, or if you submit your work to magazines for publication, articles, that kind of thing.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. That's just, I think again, the for those who haven't necessarily done this before, it's not really important for your marketing to have more than just a headshot, right?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I'm a strong believer that the headshot, some people still have their headshot from 15 years ago. And yes, it's true.
I know. I
You've seen
know.
them. I know you have.
Exactly. So that means we're talking about the benefits of fresh images, right? Like it's more than a
Yeah.
headshot and the brand photography. So I interrupted your timeline, but so you've discovered this world of, or are you're starting to get into the world of brand photography
Mhm.
again? That could be for corporations, but it sounds like you quickly landed on who you like to do brand photography for.
Yes. And my kind of niche market within that was creative women entrepreneurs. I felt like I understood them. They're my people. I felt like I understood what their needs were. And we just seemed to, get along well.
Awesome. So what
Yeah.
did that look like as you launched? How did you build your business, or how did you figure out that was your niche? Did they come to you? I think we've got our noise again. I don't know what happened, but
Um, I well, like I said, I was realizing that I wanted to get out of wedding photography and kind of looking at all the things that I was doing at the time. I was, doing a little bit of the brand photography. I was photographing still weddings and family portraits, anything that anybody really needed, I would say yes to. But when I looked at all of those photos, the ones that really made my heart happy were the ones with the creative women. And so I got very lucky. One of my original brand clients is still someone that I work with 7 years later. And just,
anybody I know?
oh, well, I don't know if you know her. That's
Oh,
Annie. I'm thinking of Annie Taylor,
I was thinking it was,
Annie
yeah,
Taylor Design.
got it.
And um, she is a stationery designer. And I did all the photos for her original website, and we've just continued to work with each other. But she's from Syracuse, and so working with her, I just kind of got a lot of interest from her network and community.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. So through her and her network, you were building your business,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had this. Then you had another shift in your business, right? So you built up this, you were doing your work, but then you had another shift that really did lead to kind of this current model that you have. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So I was doing all of that under Alice G. Patterson Photography, and I was one thing that I realized working with these women is that they would often say to me, "Oh, I wish I could have a client or a friend come and pretend that they were a client and be in my photo sessions with me." So I realized that there was a need for, or a desire, anyways, for people to have other people in their photos. And
Real people as well, not just
yeah,
plants or family members, right?
yeah. But logistically, it was difficult. I would say, sure, we could do that, but it's hard enough to get two people
Right.
on the calendar together. You start adding a third, fourth, or fifth, it gets very challenging to make that happen. So I had this little idea that I threw it out there to my mastermind that I was in, and it was to create a membership for women entrepreneurs that where they would be kind of built-in models for each other, and we would do monthly photo sessions.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that model. And so we seem to have that buzzing noise back. I don't know what to tell
Oh,
you, but anyway, it is what it is. We'll figure it out. Jiggle your
yeah.
computer. I can hear you, but it's I just want to honor we've got a little audio glitch, but we're going to proceed on
Yeah, I'm
through.
sorry, I don't know how to get rid of it.
So that was great. So but we're going to get to how I heard about that, but tell me more about like the catalyst for this, because I think for some people they would hate having their picture taken, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's hard enough to do a photo shoot. What was the experience about having other people around for the photos? What did that look like? Or how did it feel? How did that work?
Well, it was a complete unknown in the beginning. I wasn't something that I had experimented with before I brought it up to this group of women. But everybody in the room was like, wow, that's such a great idea. And I was like, oh, okay, let's run with this. And Jen Liddy, who is a mutual friend of ours, she is my business coach now. And at that time in the mastermind, it was her mastermind. And so she really pushed me and got we set up a beta photo session to see how will this work. And we ended up within 24 hours selling it out. And the next day we sold out a second beta. So the same day we did 2 photo sessions back to back. And the fact that it sold out in 48 hours was just amazing to me.
A great sign.
A great sign that this is something that people can kind of wrap their head around and be excited about.
And so so you sold out. That's a great sign of success. How did it go? Because I heard about it after you started this business model. So I, again, thought it was a no-brainer, but I'm just curious what, you knew you would tell people they were going to get photos of themselves interacting with other people. What else happened in that time, in terms of this group model that eventually became a subscription model?
Yeah. So it became things that I didn't even realize that it was going to become. I knew that people were going to get photos, and I knew that they would get a mix of individual portraits as well as those interactive photos where, maybe I'm shooting over the shoulder of someone and I'm focused on you. And so you see that it's you, but you also see that you're interacting with someone else. And what has evolved though is that it has become like a community. It's become networking. It has shown me that it is, although it may be counterintuitive for someone who feels like they are an introvert or maybe shy, it's actually easier and more fun to have other people there. It makes it funnier. You can just laugh at the awkwardness of being photographed, because very few people are excited about being photographed. A lot of people have hesitation, and it just makes it a really fun experience.
Having done it, I totally agree. So I think that's the point I heard about it, and Jen was talking about it, and I think the part to me was like, okay, duh, that sounds fantastic. But then you added this whole extra element on as well of the subscription model. So it's not a one-time shot. You aren't doing these and sort of being a flash in the pan. It's no, this is to get you started. Use these images. But as opposed to, again, having that headshot for 15 years, let's give you kind of constantly updated information that you can use, especially, again, for your ideal audience of creative women entrepreneurs who deal with people, right? So, and they're constantly also changing and being creative. So you evolve this into a subscription model. So how often do your does your group get together? And what are they learning as they have the subscription model? How are they using these images?
So we actually, depending on the size of my membership, I have at least 1 photo session a month and sometimes 2 for them to choose from. So this is photos every month, basically.
And by photos, I'm interrupting you. It's not 2. It's typically, kind of a 12 to 20 new images, right, that are usable. Is that fair?
It's guaranteed to be at least 20. It's often more.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of photos. And like I said, it's a mix of both the individual and the interactive photos. And so I think, again, something that I learned from my clients is some of the benefits are like, obviously, I was thinking, okay, we live in central New York, there's 4 seasons here. And if you get your branding photos done in the summertime, when you're sharing those in the winter, they don't really resonate because that's not, we're like one of the snowiest
Right.
cities in the country. Um, so to have images that are seasonal and reflect what's going on is makes your, a lot of this is used for social media marketing. So it makes your feed look very current and up to date. If you change your hairstyle, your photos evolve with you. If you, one member in particular said that she has grown in, like, it allows her to kind of grow her strategy as she's
Mm.
going. Sometimes you start off with one thing, but then you realize you need to pivot. And if you're stuck with photos that are just one and done from last year, it may not show the new direction that you're going in.
Oh,
Um,
I love that. That hadn't occurred to me. So to your
yeah.
point, you don't have to be like fixed to these images because, well, a month from now, or in maybe our case, 6 months from now, you have
Yeah.
another fresh set and you might be in a different place with your business and you can, there's a chicken and the egg of having the pictures first or having a plan first and the pictures to go. And I watched that in our session when we were working together with our group. Some people
Yeah.
knew exactly what they wanted, and some people were kind of taking their lead from you in terms of what great generic shots. And by generic, I mean, what are some sort of standard shots that people need to have
Yeah.
versus having very specific requests with you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And another client mentioned to me that she used to get sort of brand photos done once a year or once every 2 years. And that was a lot of pressure to get it all right,
Right.
for that one session. It's like, okay, this is a big shoot for someone, it's a big investment. And by having that's actually included in the membership. All of the members get their own individual session, but they can decide when they want to do that. Maybe they're ready right out of the gate, but sometimes they like to kind of warm up for a few months of being photographed and get more comfortable in front of the camera. And then they're ready for that one-on-one session.
Oh,
Um,
that path hadn't occurred to me either until you just described it. That's a really
oh,
good
good.
idea as well.
Yeah.
So I was about to ask. That was a great lead into the question. I was about to say. Okay, so for anybody who's watching, and by the way, there's somebody who is giving hearts. Carolyn Rose. Is that somebody you
Aw,
know?
yes. Hi,
Okay, so
Carolyn.
hearts from Carolyn Rose if she's she's watching. For anybody who's watching who is thinking, I can't imagine a photo shoot. I can't imagine a photo shoot, much less with people. I barely even have, a headshot. And I know a couple of people like this. I, can barely even stand having, a headshot on my about page, and they only have it because you or I told them they had to do it.
Right.
Um, I'm going to remark to what sold me on what Jen Liddy said when she was telling me about this that got me excited to talk to you was she said, and she was very candid, she was very honest, and she said, she said, I didn't love, I was not a person who's ever loved having my picture taken. Second of all, she said, I was not at my fittest or finest feeling when she worked with you and had those photos. And she was very honest. I think I'm not, she said, I kind of sat on them. I didn't know what to do. And I love that you've honored kind of, there's a warm up period. But
Right.
she said unequivocally when she started using the photos and getting used to integrating these images of her into her content, she said it was literally like a defining moment in her business in terms of where it took off and engagement with people and comments. And, so if she was using it for social media posts, she definitely saw an uptick. Or if it was in an email, she definitely felt like there was much more engagement. So can you talk about, Alice, like what you've witnessed in people doing this, but I think it's that idea of marketing yourself in your business, right? Like, and I sit here needing that advice as well, right? Like, if I just tell people what I do, it's fine, right? Why
Mm-hmm.
do I need to have pictures of me? Why do I need to actually have a physical picture of me, telling people or explaining people about the work we do? How do you answer that?
Well, it's a like solid statistic out in the universe that when you post a photo of yourself, your engagement goes up. So it's like it's not made up. It's, you can research it. It's out there. People want to see who you are. They want to tell you how much they love you, and it's like they want to, if they're following you, they're a fan for some reason, right? Whether it's a personal connection or a professional one.
Right.
And Jen is actually a perfect example of this, like what she said. But there's another example that just is hilarious because I had been photographing her for a little while. We were having a little coffee with a group of women, and a client of mine walked in, and I was at the counter, and she said, "Oh my gosh, is that Jen Liddy?" And I said, "Yes, that's her." And she's like, "Oh, I've seen her photos and from you." And then I started following her, and I'm interested in working with her. And I was like, "Well, that's awesome. You should go say hi and talk to her." And she walked over and introduced herself, and later they worked together.
Wow.
Literally less than 24 hours later, because I'm kind of a do as I say, not as I do, as someone like, the photographer that doesn't have photos of herself. And I hadn't really been putting my photo out there. So literally 24 hours later, I'm at another coffee shop meeting a potential client, and we are standing 2 feet away from each other, waiting for each other, not knowing that we are who we are because neither of us shared our photos.
Okay, I mean, there is the proof in the pudding right there. It just makes it easier to meet people. And
Exactly.
this is all pre-Zoom, but who cares? Like, it's
Yeah.
important. I love that.
Yeah.
Um,
And
well,
you just don't know, like, and so many of my clients, they people come up to them and say, "Oh, I've seen your photos," or they ask, "Are you so and so?" And sometimes they don't quite get the name right, but they know that they've seen them. Um, and with the group experience, you start showing up in other people's feeds beyond your own, and so your audience grows organically.
yeah, I love that. So I love that you've introduced a couple things for anybody who's listening. In terms of one, you should have pictures, right? Like, if we haven't made that clear, you should have pictures. Two, having actually fresh images, constantly refreshed. And you don't have to break the bank. It doesn't have to be an overly produced, but if you're not a person who's comfortable with your iPhone and using, doing the selfies, or you don't have an assistant around, there are ways to do it, but there's a real reason for having, kind of fresh images, not just your same headshot in every single, piece that you do. And then there's the camaraderie, right, of the group session and the marketing. So I was just going to say, I love the idea. I reached out to you. I said, we're not in, New York, Alice. Would you consider if we could get some people together down here where I am, to at least come do a one-off? Maybe we'll make it more regular. Every month would be tricky. But so you and I think can both answer this question of like how to do a group photo session. I now appreciate the organizing that goes into it, right? Like getting people committed. You typically need to have somebody who does a little makeup. They're not for glamour shots, but they're just to make sure people show up naturally, right? Like that was a
Mhm.
lesson. And um, a stylist or two, or just at least somebody who can check on colors or prints or necklines and that, that kind of thing. Um, but I think what I also, so we got all that down, but then when I got to see you in action, it's a whole different beast for you, because you're not, again, you're typically in a very uncontrolled environment. And I just
Mhm.
loved watching how you would take, like, we've got too much sunlight, or it's cold, or somebody's not, somebody's not ready. Right. Like, you had to, it was truly like watching a real marketing shoot, because you're on for 4 to 6 hours basically. So
Mhm.
that's not for everybody. So I just, again, like, this is how what is that like for you? What are some of the and I think we all took it for granted. We're like, is it my time yet? Is it my time yet? Anytime you've got all six, how many were 6 or 8 of us, like, running around. So, what are some of the things, what else have I not covered, like, that make a group photo session successful?
Well, I do think that my wedding photography past
Mm,
plays a big role in me maybe figuring this out, or definitely the kind of the skill sets to get through it, because as a wedding photographer you have to get comfortable wrangling groups for those family portraits or the bridal party portraits. So you know, if there's a burned out wedding photographer out there that's thinking about going into brand photography, I think this would be a good fit
that
for them.
That's a soft sell, because you can't be everywhere and have subscriptions around the world. So you're
Yeah,
looking to sort of train people in this new model, right?
I am. Yes, I'm next year looking to train photographers around the country, because as much as I would love to do it all myself, it's just not possible. But I do think that this business model is um, it's just I'm in my third year with it, and it's proven, I would say probably half of my clients or members have been with me the entire time. So they're not just a 1 year membership, they're committing, year after year, and still reaping the benefits of it and still being excited about it.
Yeah, and just the experience we had with our group, there were some people who said they couldn't do it, so they want to know if you're coming back, and several people who said, I would do this on a regular basis. I get it, I see it, and I've been watching how we've used our photos, and some people have, like me, inched into the profile photos, waiting, for a more comprehensive website sort of redo. But
Yeah.
I just saw somebody today who said she's launched her whole new brand, and I think her brand was already in place, but you
Hmm.
provided these very energetic pictures of her that are going along just so beautifully with
Oh, that's awesome.
her launch. So it's been fun to see that. So, Jen, Jen, Alice, I think I would love for people to figure out how to reach you, either in learning about your model and learning about your training, and then selfishly, we hope we'll get you back here in our neck of the woods in the spring.
Of
We're
course.
working on it. So what's the best way to connect with you if somebody's interested in learning more?
Um, I probably Instagram, loving my company is my handle there. And I also have a website, lovingmycompany.com.
And that explains the whole model, right? Like how you would.
Yeah. So I don't have the photographer training on there yet, but if they, if you're a photographer out there watching this and you want to get in touch, just make it known in the contact form.
Fantastic. Well, if you can't tell me now, I'm a huge fan of your work. I
Aw.
thoroughly enjoyed our group photo session, and I don't know. It's magic that happens there. The pictures that come back, as you said, like, they just start becoming something you look forward to, and it starts making, again, in my work I do with people, where marketing just always feels icky to a lot of people. It's just one more way of marketing feeling, kind of better and natural and authentic. And you just do a great job of making that happen.
Well, that just makes my heart very happy. Thank you, Nancy.
Uh, so here's to seeing you in real life in the spring. And in the meantime, exactly, we'll keep you posted. We'll put all the details in sort of show notes wherever this is, as well as all the handles to reach Alice. But thank you, Alice, for your time. It's been so lovely to see you.
You too. Thank you so much.